Oh, Hot Topic? When did this open?
All right, welcome back to another episode of Hot Topic, the Hot Tub Talk Show. I'm your host, Shannon Bacchus. This is my dad, Mike Schaefer. This is a show where two people with opposing point of views come together to try and understand each other, but if we can't, at least we're in a hot tub. And our wonderful guest today is Kieron Harrell. How are you?
I'm phenomenal. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the hot tub.
Thank you for having me.
Are you feeling hot tonight?
Yeah, always.
Okay, all right.
Not as hot as you, but we're getting there. I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, not with that bow tie, you know.
The wig, I couldn't handle it. I had to take the wig off.
Wait, you gotta put the wig on. They won't know. They won't get the context for this episode.
There we go.
Hey!
Now the hot tub is extra
Got
wet.
the wig on. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're gonna win so many times. You'll be tired of winning.
Thank you. Right. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh my god. Alright, you can take it off now if you want. What, Dad? Kieron, it's a delight to have you here.
Thank you.
What are we talking about today?
I'm a pretty free flower.
Yeah.
I think I just want to talk about more so divorce and then the effect that it has on children and then how it continuously seems to happen in black neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. But also, I'd like to think I'm a pretty objective guy, so I don't even think that we'll argue. I think I'll go like, oh, I get what you're saying, and then you'll be like, oh, I get what you're saying, and then we'll probably like kiss.
Yes!
Yeah.
Make out! Yes!
Both cheeks or lips and tongue.
Whatever you want. We can do all four. The trifecta if you want it. It means nothing.
This is amazing. All right. Who wants to open up the floor?
I can start.
Let's get it.
Mainly what I've been thinking about, so, quick back, my parents were never married.
Okay.
And my mother is a child of 9. And I am completely black father, black mother.
Was your mother's parents, your grandparents married?
Yes, and then they got a divorce later in life.
Okay.
And then my father's mother's parents were married. My father and his sister had different fathers. And then my grandma got divorced maybe 2 or 3 times on that side as well.
Okay.
And so more so just growing up, for me it was really tough because me and my sister have separate mothers. And so I noticed that a lot of times when my mom would be yelling at me, she wouldn't actually be yelling at me, she'd be yelling at Keith. And so the effect that has on a black child growing up already without a black strong male role model has the potential to lead you down some dangerous roads to find that seal of approval from other forces that may not be good for you. And then also if we look at the rates are pretty disparaging. Black couples and interracial couples involving black people get divorced at upwards of, I think, 44%. 1 in 4 black women get married. In the black community, it's upwards of 75% of black women file for the divorces. And it's just things like this that really disrupt the community. We're not able to pass on generational wealth as easily. We're not able to sustain a family or have children grow to the full potential. Just more so.
I think that's very sad. I agree with all your observations. I read a stat. I hope it's right. I can't confirm it because I don't have Google in front of me. But most people would argue the Civil Rights Act of 1965 was a major piece of legislation that helped. Well, that really has helped race relations in the United States. I'm not saying we're done, but I suggest that we're way better off than we were in 1965. But an interesting fact is, and I hope this is right, in 1965, 80% of black children were in 2-parent families.
That is correct.
And today, I believe it's less than 20%.
That is also correct.
Which I think is really sad. But I said this to Shannon the other day. I wish I knew the white and Hispanic statistics as well.
Yeah.
Because while it might not be less than 20% today, I'm sure in all races it's significantly less than 1965.
If we go back right to when slavery ended and the rebuilding time period happened, which was from 1865 until, let's go, like mid-1940s. Black people we were gaining more wealth because we were getting all the like shared land and growing the watermelon patches and all that stuff. And we were more of like a joint unit. And so then there's like a lot of conspiracy theories about what happens that broke the black family up. But I think a lot of it had to do with the 13th Amendment, which would then say, okay, well, slavery is illegal. But if you get incarcerated, then we can still work you for free labor. And so then they would heavily populate these areas where black people inhibited, and they would say, "Oh shit, you're jaywalking. That's 25 to life here in New Orleans." And they would say, "Oh, what do you do? You don't got your seatbelt on? That's the death penalty." And so then, of course, that law got abolished. I can't remember the exact year that all that got taken care of, but it was kind of like conflicting. And then,
just a question for you. Because I'm not sure how that ties together.
Right.
If that's 1860s to 1940, how do you explain 80% in 1965 two-parent families?
Yes. So I can't remember when the starter ends of these things were, but I know that the rebuild was happening because of, I guess it's anecdotal, because of my grandparents telling me of their parents and their grandparents. But then also, if I did have my book in front of me, then I could tell you more precisely. But I can't do that right now. But it was.
That's the beauty of the hot tub is we don't have our Google in front of us.
I'm perfectly comfortable with anecdotal.
Yeah. And so it's just stories of that. And then I think one thing that a lot of
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's the relationship of the parents, and how does that impact the raising of children?
Okay, gotcha.
I think that's what he asked.
But I'll run into it. So this has kind of gotten like more popular as the LGBTQ movement has gotten more popular. But a lot of black people who aren't necessarily anti-gay, they're just very pro two-sex parent household, mention the fact that having two parents in the household is largely important, because if not, you start to seek it from external factors. And so I had a stepfather, but I didn't have a black father. And so then I'm not Mexican. I'm not doing the cucaracha and shit. I need to know where's my culture coming from as a black man. He's fine, really. Oh, you're fine. Don't be sensitive. But like, he taught me how to cut grass.
You'd like to learn a little bit about the Polish culture. Come on over.
I mean, and I would love to learn about all that as soon as I learn about who I am.
Right.
And so I think that when you have both of these parents in your life, the very first thing is that, like, I was an interpersonal communications major in college. So the very first thing is, like, your first primary caregivers. These are the people that teach you about love. And if my father's not here, the first thing that I learn about love is when shit gets tough, pops bounces. So it's good for a man to leave. And that could be one of the first things that I learned subconsciously.
Or consciously.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
By the way, black families don't have a monopoly on that. That happens to lots and lots of people.
Yeah. Can I respond to that, though?
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot more positive white male role models who are not rappers, basketball players, and athletes. I think that you're pretty high up at your company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something to look up to. That's something to aspire towards. But I got LeBron James. I can't really see the people that have these achievable goals. I only have the far-reaching goals that seem impossible to get to.
So in a past episode,
right,
Darren came from a two-parent family.
Right.
And she didn't have any of that. She had first of all, her dad went to the University of Pennsylvania as well.
Same college as her?
Pretty much at the time I was there. So, he was pretty cool. Made good choices. Made good choices in life. So I can definitely understand your perspective.
Right.
If you don't have that male role model there to begin with, how do you look up to it?
Right.
So my question sort of is like, why are Black communities and Hispanic communities and racial minorities more affected by divorce? What sort of factors are happening in our society that is making divorce more common, and children are ending up in single parent families?
I might be able to answer the first half of that. Sure. I think we can all agree on this. Money is factually the second most leading cause in divorces. It makes up for 2/3 of all marriages, issues with money. If you look at the wealth disparity in the United States, white people are not at the bottom of that list. Mm-hmm. And so even though you may get divorced, my whole thing was like, I didn't get my parents are divorced, I get 2 Christmases. Well, buddy, I get 1.5, motherfucker. Okay? Yeah. Because we don't, the wealth is not that. I get 1 and then I get the half over here. And I just had to be like, well, he did the best that he could for me this year. She did the best for me. So I think that is where the main difference in the quality of life comes and why it affects them at different rates. My stepfather is literally, I'll stop at that point right there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
I think probably the white race is too big to lump it all together because they're all things being equal. Yeah, I understand.
Right.
There's lots of advantages, and certainly lots of people have more money, but there are also lots of really poor whites. And by the way, they have a lot of problems in their relationships too.
Yes. And I'd say one thing to that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you all have more access to resources that could help with that. And we don't necessarily have that.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not even in a position to know. I will tell you, though, and I hope this doesn't sound too insensitive,
No,
but some of the things I've said to my kids, especially my sons, when they start whining a little bit, but suck it up, cupcake. It's a tough world out there.
And I agree with that sentiment.
And the world doesn't give a dang about whether or not you're from a one-parent family, two-parent family, white, Hispanic, black. The world's a tough place, and if you don't lift yourself up by your own bootstraps, you're going to have nothing. Now, I do agree that being white can potentially open more doors. It's tough, right?
Yes. I like to say that everything except for I can't remember what my joke is, but I say everything except from abortion and something else. I'm a boomer, so like I am very much so. Pull yourself up, but I genuinely feel you on that. But in my opinion, it's not. In most cases, the average white person isn't only relying on their own bootstraps to pull themselves up with. And I think that if you're looking at the black community and we get this whole crabs in the bucket mentality, it is really just us and my own and my tribe.
I think that's one of the problems that we still have to solve is you should not have the crabs in the bucket mentality.
Right.
I think that there are just too many people who are way too talented who haven't been reassured that their talents can raise them up and go get it. Right?
Right.
I accept if you say, I grew up with a ton more positive reinforcement than you might have.
Right.
Right? That doesn't make your talents inferior. It means you need coaching and reassurance and ways to open doors to allow you to shine.
For sure. I learned
more
that.
Support.
I learned that
from society.
I learned that once I chose which path I wanted to take and once I was able to financially get the things. But my main point is that wasn't available to me. I had a horrible drug and alcohol addiction when I was like in my early teens because it was just me and my mother and her siblings all just yelling at Keith through me, which then made me act out, which then caused me some yellings, and I had nothing to go to. I didn't have the therapy. I didn't have the money to do X, Y, and Z. I really had sports, I had jokes, and I had music. And nigga, that is the trifecta for black people. It is athlete, it is rapper, it is comedian now. And I fell into one of them. I sold drugs when I was 14, so I guess I fell into all four, huh? Okay.
All right, I'll let that one go.
I'm done.
No, you rattled off three and said I fell into all four.
The drug dealer one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the drug dealer.
Yeah, athlete, rapper, comedian, drug dealer.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Dip my toes in a couple,
Missed that one.
But there are my cousins who are less. I can't pretend as if I grew up on like Marcy Ave. I grew up in the suburbs.
I don't know what that is.
That's where Jay-Z was born. It's a ghetto in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I don't want to glorify the street life as if I came from it, but I do want to say that there was a noticeable difference between the resources that I had when I was feeling upset versus my next door neighbor, and so it took me a while to get the positive reinforcement that I needed because it wasn't available to me when I didn't have the means myself for it, and my mom just thought I was bogus or something, and so I couldn't do that.
Across our society, lots of divorces, lots of single parents. When I say single parents, it's almost exclusively single moms.
Right.
Right? There's a handful, but not very many single dads.
Right.
If there was much more peer pressure to stay together, two-parent families, and if, for example, we had 80% two-parent families like 1965
right.
versus less than 20%, Are some of these issues fixed?
I have no idea, but I believe that it would be fixed. And then I do understand what you mean by, I guess, let's just call it social pressure. I would like to follow that up with, there's no genre that is this, but there are movies that are black movies. There are Tyler Perry movies, anything that Eddie Murphy and Will Smith, they were kind of able to transcend the black movies, but still they were black movies. And a lot of times in these type of films, like Boys in the Hood, these Spike Lee type of films, you don't see the middle to upper class family getting along and nothing's going wrong except for ghosts. You see a real life situation where the father is beating the mother. And let me not say real life as if all black men are abusive, but I'm saying that you see these sort of like toxic patterns in movies that are mainly made to be given to the black audience. And so then I go watch, what do I go watch? The Brady Bunch. I click the Brady Bunch on and I'm like, oh shit, they got fucking 11 kids and...
Dude, you need to watch It's a Wonderful Life every Christmas.
Oh my God, Dad, don't. No, no, not A Wonderful Life.
But with that, I just think that like I think that the push is on separate people. And I think that and I will not say that is y'all fault entirely. I will also say that us making these type of like black exploitation films are ridiculous.
Well, I would like to just roll it back a little bit because it's not only the black family that has significantly more single-parent households than 1965. It's all races, significantly less.
I was gonna ask, like, why is it more common in marriages in racial minorities? Like, say there's the same amount of marriages, it's more common for the racial minorities to have a divorce.
It is.
I don't know the answer, but I do know that more than 50% of all marriages in our country end in divorce, and I think that's a shame. Personal opinion only. I think it's too easy to get a divorce. People
too easy to get married too, probably.
It could be, but that's I agree with that.
I have one other question before we wrap it up. Is any thoughts on opinions on what is maybe a better situation? Like you got a 2-parent household, male and female. What about 2-parent households of the same gender versus maybe a single-parent household where you...
When you said the boomer thing, you said abortion and one more thing.
Get married. I'm pro-choice. Meaning like that's the only thing that's not boomer.
Because Kieron, you mentioned earlier about so say like you hypothetically grew up in a household with 2 moms. Okay. You still don't have a father figure in the household. Right. I don't know. Is that a better situation than just 1 mom, 2 moms? No, I don't know. Does it matter? Does it make any difference?
Okay. My honest answer is that I think that it does matter. I think that every black boy needs a black man in his life. And I mean man very specific. Does that mean that I cannot get the love and the reassurance and the XYZ from my 2 parents? No, of course I can get that. But I think that the reason we see all this like shit about toxic masculinity is because there's there's very little or there is not as many positive male enforcement. And if you look at the charts, if you look at the data, I was reading this shit the other day. When the conditions are correct and black fathers are allowed to be in the household with the children, by 20%, I think on every margin, we beat out every other race father with involvement, with school involvement, with wanting to do like if something goes wrong in the family, we're more likely to seek outside help for the family as a unit. So like when we are able to be involved, we are correctly. Right. But I think that when that key component of a man, of an upstanding dude is out of the picture, all this shit just starts to funnel in equal chaos.
And you think it's more important for a black boy to have a black man in his life versus how important it is for a white boy to have a white man in his life? It's more important, like, we should, like, prioritize that to make that happen more?
Or just any...
Can I help? And can I hop in?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's important for a boy growing up to have a male role model in the family, in the house.
But one that also like reflects you, because I mean you had a stepdad, but you're like, I needed a black man.
And he taught me, like, I love my stepdad to pieces. He taught me phenomenally.
Just question, I'm just inferring from the conversation.
Yeah.
Is your stepdad not black?
No, he's Mexican.
He's Mexican.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that culturally, blacks and Hispanics are very close together. And so, like, he taught me a lot of things that my father also taught me. He was just really heavy on physical labor. I'm kidding. Hey. But so he taught me important things. But I do, and I don't want to do. I don't want to prioritize black boys over white boys. Because I think they're both important. And I think that the more fathers that we can get in both of these units is the better. I'm just saying that statistically, if a black father is to be in the black household, he will be more involved and that will have a better impact.
Fantastic. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What about, like, women and mothers? Would you say it's the same thing?
This is a whole separate thing. Because I think that women, and this is like my most controversial point, but I think that, my mother. I'm a young boy with mommy issues, so this is also going to be seen in that. But it's just like our grandparents, I think, were like one of the last generations to really just tough the shit out.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily see great examples of that in my family, but with nearly everyone black that I know, our grandparents were the last survivors. And I think after that, there was a heavy media influence of more or less, fuck that man, he can't do shit for me, XYZ, which our parents adopted. And my mother then put inside of my sister, which pushes her into the whole like career-based driven thing, which is phenomenal. Get your own. But then my sister still has that, like, I guess, primal desire to start a family, XYZ. But it's constantly reinforced to her as that not being as important enough because of how my mother felt about whatever she was surrounded by. And then as I'm hearing her tell my sister, fuck men, I'm just like, well, I'm a man. And then it does this whole funnel of
like
more
distrust
toxicity.
of men as fathers.
Yes. And so I feel very strongly about that right there.
Cool. I was curious because I grew up primarily raised by my dad. Like my mom was very rarely around. Like, so I think it's like up until like maybe when I was like 8, she started leaving, and like with that, I think that's something that people don't talk about as much too. Is like that, like men needing a father, women needing a mother. Because I was very much there were so many things I figured out on my own, and I still haven't figured out, and I think it affected me significantly, like growing up.
Totally. Well, all right, angels. This was a lovely topic. Thank you so much for bringing this topic to the tub. Oh, oh my God! Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Kieron and Mike. This was a delightful hot topic. I'm delighted. We'll see you next time. Keep it hot. Hell yeah!
That was fun.
Love that.